Hello, this is Steve Lindsley and welcome back to my shop. In this next couple of videos I'm going to show you how I take a few thin strips of walnut and ash and bend them around a form to make a landing net used for fishing. It was a lot of fun. There's no wood turning in this project, so if you like to watch my wood turning videos, there's no wood turning in this, although I've been trying to think about a way to actually turn the handles, so that'd be kind of cool, but I haven't figured out exactly how to do that yet, but I'm going to keep thinking about it. The video, it takes 2 videos to show this project. My videos tend to be a little bit longer than the normal YouTube videos. I try and keep them as short as I can, but I like to leave in what I like to watch, so they tend to be a little bit longer, so hopefully you'll hang in there and watch both of the videos. In the first video, we're going to go ahead and make the bending form that we need to bend our fishing net. It's made out of MDF, so that's fairly straightforward. We'll also cut the strips. We'll soak them in some water and pre-bend them around the form. I like to pre-bend them. That helps a little bit make the glue up a little less stressful, so I like to do that. And then in the second video, we're going to go ahead and glue the strips together, glue a handle on it, shape it up, cut a groove, drill some holes, put a finish on it, and then finally stitch in the net bag. For the net, I went with a rubber net, which is supposed to be hook proof according to the bag that I got the net in. And also supposed to be better for the fish if you're doing catch and release. It's not supposed to disturb their outer membrane or whatever. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So I hope you find it interesting and hang in there and watch the videos. I hope you find them enjoyable as well. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and start making our landing net. All right. Well, we're ready to get started on our fishing net project. I guess maybe fishing net is too broad of a term. This really is a landing net. Like I said, what you would use to scoop your catch out of the water and into the boat versus like a casting net or something like that. In my research, I found that nets varying in size. Of course, if you're a trout fisherman, you want something that's fairly small that you can carry through the brush when you're out there fishing the trout streams. If you're lake fishing for bass and that type, it's one size. And if you're really going after like salmon or something, it's even bigger. What I did find that most nets for like large smallmouth bass, whatnot, are generally about 12 inches wide and maybe 16 inches long as an average. You can make them any shape you want. One of the articles I read said somebody made a net in the shape of Texas. Well, I'm certainly not that. Certainly not going to do that, but I did find that the teardrop shape, or a shape similar to this, is kind of typical. And what I've seen, the nets in the stores and whatnot that I've looked at are kind of the same thing. So what I've done is I've drawn the pattern out on a piece of 1/4 inch MDF. I started with the center line. We wanted to make it symmetrical. I made some marks. They're not quite 1 inch on center, but made some marks along the side so I can use them for reference when I was laying it out. So we got a nice shape. I think it's pleasing. That's going to be the inside shape of the fishing net. What we're going to do now is we're going to glue this to some 3/4 inch MDF. Well, we're not going to glue it. We're going to trace it onto some 3/4 inch MDF. And then cut that out and then glue them together so we have a piece that's 1 inch thick. So we'll hopefully, this is my first fishing net, so hopefully it come out good. Okay, I've taken a piece of MDF and I've laid our pattern on it and traced around it and got this inside diameter or inside pattern. What I need to do now is cut it out, but also I want to use some of these outside edges here as clamping cauls for when I bend the wood around this form. And to be able to do that, I need to remove the exact thickness of the fishing net. So I'm going to make it 3/4 of an inch thick. So what I did was I took my compass, and I set it at exactly 3/4 of an inch, and I went around the shape and put it on there, and I struck small arcs all the way around, and that gives me a exact pattern of the inside, exactly 3/4 inches away. So what we'll do is cut out the inside, then all this area in here, I'll cut it out. That way when I squeeze it together, there'll be room for the fishing net to be compressed against this shape. I won't use the whole piece. This part down here, I won't need to put a caul on. Just where there's major bends, that's pretty much everything. So all the way down to here probably. So I'm going to go ahead and get the bandsaw, and we're going to cut this out and remove this section here in the middle, and then we'll be ready to glue this then to another piece of MDF that we'll use as a base for our bending jig. I got my 3/4 inch piece of MDF cut out on the bandsaw. I cut it outside the line, so what we're going to do is we're going to glue our template on top of it to make our total pattern an inch tall. Because I cut it outside the line, it's not an exact fit. So what we're going to do is once we get it glued on, and the glue sets up for a few minutes, we're going to take it over to the router table, and we're going to use a flush trimming bit and trim off the 3/4 inch piece to match the top piece, and then we'll have a perfect match. Putting glue on these two pieces, everything's going to like slide around, so I got my pin nailer. We'll go ahead and stick a few pins in it and to kind of hold it there while the glue dries. So there's no science to this. We just we don't want too much glue, but we don't want to skimp on it either. So I just put some glue on there like that, and we'll use this old piece of, I don't know what it is, piece of plywood or something that I obviously cut up. We'll just kind of spread that out a little bit. All right. If you got any major bare spots, we'll put some more glue on. All right. That looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and put this piece on here. Slide it around a little bit and get it lined up. I think I'll just line it up with the top line. And then when we put a pin in it, that'll hold it there. So let's get that kind of where we want it. There, that's stuck there now. We can kind of line up the rest of our lines here. Stick a few more pins in it and let it dry, and we'll be good to go. Okay. There we go. That's how we do that. That's nice and stuck on there. All we got to do is let the glue dry a little bit, and we'll take it over to the router table and flush all that up, and that'll be a major part of our jig done. Okay, let's get caught up here a little bit. I've gone ahead and glued our template to the 3/4 inch base on the bottom, and I did the same thing to these sides here, so they'd be an inch thick. I've gone ahead and trimmed them up, got them shaped so that we can actually put some clamps on them. Drilled some holes in the interior piece of the template so that we can put a clamp across there and pull these things tight once we get the wood ready to bend. I got it mounted, well, just sitting on a piece of MDF that's 20 by 24. I'm going to need to trim off some of the corners and stuff so we'll be able to get at the clamp handles and whatnot. But what I want to do is I want to mount this center section. Drew a center line on the MDF and lined up the center line on this one. What I've done is I've traced the outline. Probably not coming out too good on the video, but I traced the outline of the template, including the holes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes for screws through this side. That way I can avoid the clamp holes. And then once I get them through, I'll flip it over, countersink them, and then I can go ahead and screw this screw this template to the base piece. I don't want to glue it on there just in case I want to take it off or something happens to the base piece, or I mess it up when I'm trimming the corners off or whatever. That way it'll be held on there nice and securely. So once we do that, really the only thing left to do to the template is to coat it with some shellac or polyurethane or something that'll seal it and keep the glue from sticking to it. We'll also put on some paraffin as I showed on that other one. So we'll probably for today just get this screwed on there, and that'll probably be it. I'm running out of time for today. And next weekend we'll go ahead and cut some strips, wood strips. Probably soak them in some water so that they'll bend, and then continue with our template. Sealing it up, it'll give me a chance. I recently purchased a Erlex HVLP spray station, so it'll be my first time using that. So that'll be fun. So we'll show all that on the next videos. So it's coming along well. We're just getting close to being ready to bend some wood. All right. Well, we moved ahead with our bending form. I've gone ahead and brushed on several coats of shellac. I was going to spray it, but the weather's not cooperating today, and I can't spray in the garage, so we'll just went ahead and applied it by a brush. What I put on was this Zinsser Bullseye shellac. I actually bought this can by accident a few months ago. I was looking for the sanding sealer, which doesn't have wax in it. And I picked up the wrong can, so it's been sitting around the shop for a while, but I found a good use for it today. So, so far this is coming out pretty good. We'll put some wax on it. I got to trim some of these edges off here to get a better access to the clamps when we put on, but I'll just do that with my jigsaw. I went ahead and screwed a cleat to the bottom of it, and I've actually got it clamped into my workmate, so that's kind of held there pretty steady, and that's where we're going to bend the wood. We'll just leave it in that workmate when we go ahead and bend it. So this needs to dry a little bit more. We'll put a coat of wax on it, and then we'll rub some paraffin on any area where that might get glue on it, and then the form will be ready to go as soon as we finish up with getting the wood ready. All right, for the wood for this project, I've selected some ash and some walnut. I think it's going to give a good contrast once it's glued up. The wood is actually, when I bought it, the board was maybe 13/16 or so 7/8 inches thick, but I want the fishing net to be an inch or so tall. So what I'm going to do, rather than rip strips off this way, I'm going to stand it on edge and rip strips off the face of the board. So I got it milled down to maybe an inch and a 1/16 or something like that. So we'll stand these two up like that and run them through the saw, and I want the strips to be 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to cut them a little bit fat so that I can run them through the sander and clean them up. I got I don't know if you can see it or not, but I got a cabinet maker's triangle on there because I want to put the pieces back in the same order with which they are cut from the board. So for a 3/4 inch thing, we need 3/4 inch thickness. We're going to need 6 1/8 inch strips. So I'm going to go ahead and we got the saw pretty much set up. I'm going to cut them on the bandsaw, and I'll show that here in a minute. But I've gone ahead and put in a wood slicer blade from Highland Woodworking in Atlanta. It works really well for ripping wood. I probably could have just used my regular blade, but it cuts through these things like butter. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. So we'll rip these strips, and then we'll be closer to bending them around the form. Okay, we're ready to make the cut. What I have is the blade here set maybe 32nd greater than 1/8 of an inch. I got a feather board on the table to keep the stock up against the fence as we run it through. I got a push stick to push the last part through. So we're ready to go ahead and make this cut on this piece of ash. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the dust collector and then the saw, and we'll see what we can make a slice here off of this piece of ash. Alright, well there's our first slice off of our piece of ash. It's a little rough on the one side there, so we'll run it through the sander and clean it up. It looks like it might have come out a little bit thinner than I'd wanted it to, but let's see. Yeah, we're good. We're a little over 1/8 of an inch, so that'll be good. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off and continue slicing these things up until I get them all done and we get the number that we want, and then we'll come back. Alright, we're going to take and run some of our strips through the drum sander and start getting them down to the thickness that we want, which is 1/8 of an inch. Overall, I wound up with 16 strips, which gives us some extra in case we make a mistake or something doesn't turn out the way that it's supposed to. I should be able to make 2 nets with that, so that'll be good. These 4 pieces are a little bit thicker than some of the others, so I'm going to go ahead and finish running these through. I got a couple of spots that need to be cleaned up on them, so we'll go ahead and start up the dust collector and the sander and show how we do that. Okay, a few passes through there not only gets them down to the thickness that we want, but also cleans up any saw marks and makes them nice and clean and ready to bend. That's got to get a little bit thinner before we can bend that one. So that's how we sand up our strips. I certainly could have cut the strips on the table saw, but the thing about the table saw, the blade I have in mine is 1/8 of an inch thick, so we would have lost 1/8 of an inch with the every time we cut a strip. So this way I was able to harvest more strips out of those pieces of wood I had than I would have otherwise. So that's why we used a bandsaw instead of the table saw. Alright, well this is my jury rig setup for getting ready to bend our wood. There's really 3 ways you can bend these strips. We could do it dry. There's a good chance that they break, which is not a good option. The second option is steaming it. I'd have to make some kind of steaming tube and get some kind of can and a turkey fryer or something to generate enough steam to do it that way. Which if I was doing a lot of these I probably would. But the third way of doing it is to soak them in wood for a length of, soak them in water for a length of time. And then once they get waterlogged, they'd be a lot easier to bend. So what I did was I got a piece of 2-inch PVC and I put a rubber stopper with a band clamp on the bottom of it. I filled it up with water and then I put some duct tape across the top of it to hold the pieces inside the tube there, which is they've been in there now for a couple hours, so I'm thinking they're pretty much ready to come out and see if we can bend them around our form. All right, our bending form's all ready to go. We went ahead and put some paste wax on everything, paying particular attention to these sides here with where the wood's going to come in contact with it. I went ahead and made a template for the handle, which fits up in there in that curve right there. The handle, vinyl handle is going to be made out of a big piece of walnut that I bought. So we're all set to go with this. We're going to get the piece of wood out of the soaking tube, and we're going to dry them off a little bit and put them in the form and bend them up. All right, well, we're getting ready to bend this fishing net around this form here. I have a center line marked on the wood at 30 inches. These are 60-inch pieces, so we're going to go ahead and put that on the center line there. We're going to try and bend this around here. Hopefully we don't hear any cracking sounds, which would be disastrous at this point. So we're going to, the idea at this point is just to get it around the corner. We'll take a clamp and put on it to hold it on there on that side. We'll take a clamp over here as well. Hold it on this side. Okay, now that we got that on there, we can keep our center line lined up somewhat. And we can start putting these top pieces on. So we'll put one across here, which should pull this top down on this side. There we go. That's pushing it down the way we want. Back, we're a little off on that. We'll slide it around a little bit. The good news doing it like this, we're not really stressed out waiting. If we had glue on it, this would be a very stressful activity. But since we don't have any glue on it yet, and I think I got that one around too far. We don't have any glue on it yet. We're a little more relaxed. It still can be a little on the stressful side sometimes. Advantage of using these cauls is that we can use less clamps. Otherwise, we would need a lot more clamps if we were doing it. Just clamping these to without the caul on the outside. So these are definitely helpful. Let's see. This the bottom part's got a pretty severe bend, so we'll get that one on there. We'll get this one on this side. Clamp back on there and pull it close. Let's see. Come on now, clamp. Once we get it kind of where we want it, it'll be a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and put a clamp around this bottom piece, which should pull a lot of this in here. Yep. There we go. That's going to move a little bit as it conforms to the curve. I need something on this one over here. There we go. Put a clamp across where our little temporary handle is. Pull that in, which is going to pull this one in. Something. All right, we'll See if we can't get a clamp on this one right here. All right. Well, there we go. We got that successfully bent around that frame. They're not exactly even, but that's all right because we'll have to take it apart once it dries and put some glue on it and put it back on. So we'll make sure we level them all up at that point. All right, this one's been in the clamp for an hour and something, so we're going to go ahead and unclamp it and see what it looks like. Hopefully it's comes out the way we want it to. We'll take some of these clamps off. Let's see. It's going to spring back a little bit. Hopefully it just doesn't straighten all the way out. That would be disappointing. Well, it's bent where we need it to be bent. It certainly, it's not going to maintain that shape exactly, but we got the curves that we want. So once we put it back in there the second time, it'll be a lot easier to bend it around the shape. So we accomplished what we were looking for with the form, so that's good. It bends a lot easier. I can almost bend it by hand to the shape that we want, so that's good. So we're going to set this one, we'll set this one aside, and then we'll get the other one out of the water, and we'll bend it. All right, well that was the end of the first video. We cut our strips, built our frame, and pre-bent the wood for the net. So I hope you stay tuned for the second video.